And as scandal rocks many in Washington, the Oval Office is dealing with a landslide. Many fingers pointing directly at the president. More Americans now questioning whether President Obama is an honest and trustworthy leader. A new Fox News poll shows half of Americans have doubts. 48% say no, President Obama is not honest and trustworthy, while 48% say they still have faith in the president. That's down, of course, from last month when 49% of people found the president honest. But just 1 year ago, 51% of the country said he was honest. And in April 2009, just after taking office, 73% said the president was honest and trustworthy. Congressman Allen West is here. Nice to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure, Greta. How are you?
So is the decline in the president's trustworthy and honest number, is that just sort of part of being a second-term president, or is the president earning this decline?
No, I think he is really earning this decline, because when you look at all of these things that are mounting upon the president, talk about Benghazi. I mean, someone has to come out and say, why was Ambassador Chris Stevens in Benghazi, which is a hotbed of radical Islamism? What was the president's impact as far as the decisions that he should have been making? We had an ambassador come under attack. To, who was the person that sent Susan Rice out there to, really tell a lie and deceive the American people? And why did he continue to tell that lie for about 2 weeks after on Univision and also at the United Nations? The IRS scandal is something very huge, and that is something that's personal to a lot of people. And you just don't see the president getting in front of this. You don't see the president really talking about the climate that is happening across his administration. But what do you see? You see people getting promoted. You see people, going off, on taxpayer-paid vacations. So this feigned, indignation is really starting to wear thin.
Why do you think he, maybe think he doesn't care, but why should he care? He's not going to run again. And the line that was so famous from early on when he was first elected in 2009 was something to, I think it was to Senator McCain or somebody saying, "I won." Mm-hmm. Why should he care? I mean, is it just popularity, or or is it that he can't get his agenda passed?
You're the president of the United States of America. That's an incredible responsibility.
So personal pride, and is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not personal pride. It should be the country's pride. It should be the exceptionalism of this country. That'd be just the same as if I'm a commander of a battalion. I see my battalion going into the ground and really falling apart and not being able to meet its missions, but I'm not caring about it. You're the leader. You're the one that said, here I am to lead this great nation. And if you don't own up to those responsibilities, if you don't hold yourself accountable to the American people first and foremost, then you're going to see this type of slide.
Does he show he cares?
I don't think he does show that he cares. I mean, let's talk about, just last week when you had this announcement that we're going to be supplying arms to the rebels in Syria. You had the deputy come out and make that statement, not the president. So I think that he has to be able to show that he cares. Do
you think that maybe he doesn't get it? Because that is rather surprising. I mean, something so important of arming rebels, maybe because it could be a slippery slope. We can move on. Maybe sometime we're going to be more engaged in what's going on in Syria. Maybe yes, maybe no. But he is the commander-in-chief.
Absolutely.
And it's stunning to most people that something so important as arming someone to overthrow another government, you would think would be a decision, or would be something that the President of the United States would speak to the American people about.
You would think so, and because you're talking about committing our resources and committing our forces. Look, understand that 30 years ago, we had a horrific event when we put U.S. military forces in a civil war in that area. That was in Lebanon with the Beirut bombing. We lost 238 Marines. This is not something that we should take lightly. And what was interesting, when you watch today with the G8 summit, you could see the disdain on Vladimir Putin's face. It's not just the credibility and the trustworthiness that the president has here, but it's also on the international arena.
Well, I should say that Vladimir Putin, he is Russia, he is ex-KGB, and he is doing against us, or at least against what many people want to do in Syria. So, it's not surprising that he would have some disdain directed at the president of the United States.
But the thing is also, I remember when there was a certain president that stood at the Brandenburg gates and told a Russian Soviet Union leader to tear down this wall, and eventually the wall came down. So we're looking for that type of resolve, that type of resiliency, that type of moral courage and forthrightness in our president. And we're not seeing it at home. We're not seeing it on the international arena. And I think that's starting to really come to roost.
Do you think he knows that?
I think that the president is surrounded by people that tell him that he's doing great. I think that he has been surrounded by a media that continues to protect him and tells him that he's doing great. But now the show is kind of up, and the man behind the curtain is kind of being exposed.
What do you think about the fact that, I mean, I actually blogged tonight on Greta Wire that he's speaking to the German people at the Brandenburg Gate, and I think, I'm glad the German people get to hear from our president. But we ought to hear from him on both Syria, which I just mentioned, as well as the NSA, to explain to us, that thing like trust us, we're doing the right thing is not resonating with most American people. They don't trust the government on this NSA thing.
No, you cannot have any more drive-by, trite comments and statements. You cannot really have any more, teleprompted speeches. We need to have a window into the president, into his heart, and talk to us as the American people. And I think you see his approval ratings down at 44%. By the time he comes back from this Africa vacation, it could be down to 41 or 42%.
Of course, Congress is down to 10%.
Well,
Congress is Congress at the point where almost it can't get any lower.
Well, absolutely. But when you look at the aggregate, you see a failure in Washington, D.C. Our debt continues to grow. The deficits may be reducing somewhat, but still our debt to GDP ratio is still bad. Our economy is not turning around either.
Congressman, always nice to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Greta.